I really wish I can go record in my car again, but I'm afraid of getting ticketed. Yeah. Yeah, probably not anymore. Unless I ever get a permit. I'd be grateful if I got a permit. It's like, well, as long as I have no accidents, I, I could just be written off with like some warning or not even getting charged because there's no way, dude. There's no way. How does any YouTuber videotape in the car? Like, can you actually? Maybe you can. I don't know. I can't. It's like recording yourself on camera, right? It's like looking at your smartphone while driving. It's like multitasking. You can't do that. You could have given me like some sort of ticket, permit. I don't know. Like if it's something else, that's a different story. But like if you're filming, you have to have something. Like maybe like I ran over. Hell, it could even be me. 5 people, right? I wouldn't even fucking care if he. Well, I care, but you know. Well, you know what I mean. It's like I care, but I also understand what your occupation is. Right, your occupation is a film photographer. You are expected to sort of be curious. Well, what happened to the electricity here? So, this is the thing. I really do not like talking about it because it's like I now understand the struggle of film majors a lot. I understand it really well. I do think film's probably one of the most valuable fields out there. But the problem is you have to take a lot of risk. You got to run a lot of stuff. I think it actually, well, anything can be budget friendly. I actually think it's probably the most friendly tutorial way to start learning other subjects. Right? It's just, I am not someone who believes. Like I am someone that likes slipping under the grid, slipping under the system, right? Not fighting against man, but you know, I am one of those people who just buys a solution manual for like every book. I do think the standardization should start changing. I think people should run more real risks instead of paper to risk, right? Like you're doing paper standardized tests. They should do that more, and that's more valuable to any country. They should. Is there value in the college system? I'm thinking about this right now because there actually is, but the problem with like a lot of these things is like it's not worth anyone's pay because before it was just like college was primary and everything else. There's no charter. They just merged. That's a hellscape. It was paid double what you have now plus tenure. But then the problem is they didn't want to do that work right. Because none of the teachers like each other when you cluster them under. They all hate each other. Anyone remember where the Common Core debate came from? Like I said, I talked about this before. It was from the profs, having spats with the teacher. Trust me, you're going to have more of that being like plain out in the open. Because what the other teacher, because none of the teachers agree on what. Look at a historian, right, from high school, like when they teach stuff. Like, here's my interpretation. Here's what the true version of history is. And then you talk to a historian from college, right? There is no agreement. That's the whole point of going to college. So you can air out your viewpoints, all of them. Can you imagine bringing them all together in a room? There is no peace. It's just war. Everyone's the Joker. It's in every field, trust me. Because a lot of these primary teachers, if anyone who's smart will know that they can't cover everything in that field. So what ends up happening is people infight. College allows you to explore all that because you have to completely teach something within a certain set of deadlines. You know you're going to fight. That's where the Common Core debate came from. But you ask me, you won't like it. The illusion is it's just a conservative thing. No, it's a bipartisan thing. It's like, because what the college professor starts with is like, actually, that's a very simplified view of reality. It always starts like something like that. Yeah, a good example is like, yeah, what about, yeah, geometric proofs? It should only be taught for, geometric proofs shouldn't be for a year. I remember I remember some people in the old days about this. Some of my friends were friends with Albert Bernardson, I think is his name. Shoreline area. They all sort of know each other. He's like a third degree connection from LinkedIn. Anyways, they're all like, hey, they all made jokes about this. They're all like, I don't think geometry should be for a year. I think it should be for a decade. I think you're teaching a lot of misconceptions. I think that should be the whole curriculum. Yeah, and he's like, this is too simplified, like the SAS theorem. They're like, oh, here's these other 50 postulates to this. You should teach that. If you don't teach that, you're like, I remember they were like, I wouldn't, yeah, they basically said something like, you're a moron. Like, I think back when Bush was around, they just called themselves niggers. Oh, well, you just believe in Common Core. I was like, that's when I figured out that no one said what they meant. You're just against it, right? I was like, oh, there it is. That's when you realize no one said what they meant on that. Right, and it's like, and what they would do is they'd have spats, and certain schools would adopt the college version, which wasn't sustainable, but they still did it. Certain ones did it. The joke was there was no debate, just that people debated about when you complete something within a certain set of deadlines, and most teachers at the end of the day, they just care about their paycheck. And the joke is the profs actually care about teaching it. And the joke is then they get a bigger paycheck because of that. And the primary school teachers cared about their paycheck doing the minimum amount of work to get some money. That's the sad truth no one talks about. That's how you start. It's like a Jedi Order schism. Like all the primary schools are that schism. It's like, nope, it needs to be taught completely. Just go to the schools, right? The higher education. Now, before then, I think there were like corporate work too they had to do. But like, I think they it's like too much work, not worth the money. No one was that desperate. But my point is, college is a more reliable source of information. I can talk about this a lot, but like a lot of these political YouTubers that I listen to, like a lot of these Roth reviews, like when I started out when I was a conservative, well, I'm just progressive for like the First Amendment thing. I'm vouching. I still vouch for your vows. A lot of these people you see, like these people who are anti-college, that actually came from college, by the way. A lot of these viewpoints, Jordan Peterson's viewpoint, Stefan Molyneux had his viewpoints. I'm pretty sure they all came from college. I'm thinking about this right now. A lot of these professors wanted to roast themselves. They all had similar complaints. Because I saw this when I was in, like, Bothell for a while. They had complaints. I know it wasn't my imagination. Profs aren't dumb, dude. The problem is you gotta follow your employer that pays you. You just don't say anything, right? People who are anti-corporate can disagree with each other, right? We all have different views on how we tackle the corporation. Of course they say it. And to even get that knowledge means you have to have a high level of intelligence to have a very different viewpoint. It's kind of a given. A lot of these anti-college people they all originated from college. They don't care, right? Profs don't care enough about keeping their job. They care about knowledge at the end of the day. There's going to be a few that break away. They're okay with the debate. They knew they were never going to be plain enough to admit it themselves. But they pay someone else to do it for them. So a lot of these, I roast my liberal college professor. The joke is, the college professor roasted their colleagues before that even started. So a lot of liberal professors, if you even want to call it that, we're looking for an exit ramp. That's all this is. And if you're a liberal cop getting roasted, just know that this is not a new thing. Don't panic. There's a lot of teachers who have reservations about who's paying them. They have reservations about how the U.S. government functions. They're grateful for the employer. And all this is there's people out there, they don't feel like they're heard. They feel like there's a bigger problem that needs to be addressed. You know it's true. There's profs you just ignore in the office. And I think they would have gotten more leeway if they, did more substitute work. People don't, right? They would be more, they don't want to play that game, so they want to play the indirect game. And that no one wants to be playing about. So I think a lot of liberal profs should be okay with getting roasted. Because you can't, there are certain things you cannot talk about within the system you're employed by, right? No, seriously. You work for Safeway. Can you roast Safeway? It's like an HR complaint. You can't. Right? If you have ethical concerns about how Safeway operates, can you talk about it while you're employed by Safeway? Or do you hire a YouTuber to roast Safeway? You want to change the corporation, right? You want to make it more profitable. Well, how do you start negotiating? All these flamboyant people, it's just an illusion, right? Be like, oh, I'm against the school. It all started from somewhere because the profs can't change the system from within anymore. And now, if they were honest about it, the funny part is if they actually wanted to be consciously aware and contemplating, they would have been honest. The joke is that they can't even contemplate it. I understand it's terrifying to contemplate it. Yeah, there were some ideas I contemplated. I was like traumatized for like 5 years, like parenting. You can't. This is just things. You can't do it. You just fucking can't do it. You should be okay with getting roasted. It helps move the system in your favor, too. Right? I'm sure a liberal has ideas they can't even openly discuss about in the school system. I don't know what it is. There's ideas you don't even want to talk about. You don't even want to discuss it. You feel like, if I discuss it, won't I lose my job? What if I want to criticize a Fortune 500 company? A lot of rebels, if not all of them, start out in the school system. It's not direct, by the way. It can't be direct. It's too dangerous. If I really wanted to change a corporation, I had no power, I would probably do that too. It's an ingenious move. It allows the corporation to actually shift strategies without feeling embarrassed. Right? If a left-wing institution, or hypothetically want to adopt a right-wing view to salvage its corporation, you just have someone roast them. This is the right way to play the game. You have to. You really want to play the game where you self-roast yourself? Oh, fuck that. Just engage in a spat with a beautiful YouTuber, right? Think about it. Imagine Mark Dice engaging in a shitstorm, right? With you. You don't even have to blame yourself. You can't say, well, after some stuff, oh, I engaged in a spat. It looks nicer, paper-wise. Mark gets the shitty end, of course. Because they already tried the direct way. Too dangerous. Get your salary docked. Forget about that, too. Fluke's, and meanwhile, Fluke's point of view ain't new either. It was a corporate view that no one can openly express. A lot of people don't like the corporation, and a lot of people did get better pay when they bounced jobs. The joke being, I think, and I could be wrong, is that they never got their full pay on their last job. Maybe they didn't get anything close to what they were paid. I think here's how I think Fluke came with his. I could be wrong. The joke was, I'm guessing it's in code. I'm one of those people that don't trust people in general. I am very skeptical. That's why I'm not a liberal spender in general. You know, if people were more trustworthy, more honest, I'm okay with spending more money. Totally okay with that, actually. I wrote in my previous tweet that I see money as a resource. It's kind of like, you know, you ever seen Call of Duty? There's a lot of people that are conservatives. They don't know it, and I'm okay with that. Like I said, I'm for a trade. Like I said, when I became an SJW, I'm a contrarian, so I'm okay with trading. I never said I was a pure idealist in anything. All I said is I'd vouch for stuff. That does not mean I actually am a pure idealist in anything. Because if you want, oh no, you should be an idealist. Idealists should exist within the system. But in our society, idealists cannot start out as idealists. We simply don't have the days of the old where you can hire. Those are called prophets, by the way. Those are called seers. You don't have that anymore. That's not a real system. That's just fake news. It would start as charity organizations. We do not have public funding of this shit anymore. It used to be private, actually. That's the joke. Because what the government would have is like, we want to hire seers. I want to hire seers. Well, I'm going to send you to the school system. A lot of these political points of view, they all originate from the colleges. They all originate from some prof out there. If he was honest about it, can you imagine how many accolades he'd get? From like both sides? Because you know he's the useful one in the office that can push stuff to some extent. You know he wouldn't say what you mean if you don't agree with him. You know the game, dude. You know there is no way you can openly express it. And you know colleges aren't actually anti-corporate. It's complicated. You get your freedom to be anti-corporate within certain circumstances, right? It's complicated. Now, if you ever see like a right-winger or a far-right or a Nazi guy, just know it did come from the schools. And it probably got taken out of context as a way to move some political discussion that's been stonewalled in college. It was not that extreme. You have to do this game, dude. There's no choice, right? It's called negotiation. This is how you move stuff in a direction. Right? Hitler started out like that too. Right? Remember, his main goal is to improve the economy, if you believe in the mainstream narrative. Which I don't. I'm more like, I think he killed people to make philosopher's stones. Right? It makes sense. I think of negotiation. The genocide of a people. Extraction of wealth. The Jewish ruling class, whatever you want to call it, if it's a real thing, has actually a lot of the... Now, when Hitler is like saying, well, all the bankers are Jews, I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying you need easy hyperbole to sell something. And a lot of the... and back then, we used to have insurance policies that rewarded people based on what ethnicity they belonged to. it was easier that way, and the reason why is so the rich can hire human labor a lot cheaper. Think about it. You're white, right? No, I'm really serious by this. It was actually graded by the IQ crew. Right? The whites were, I think, because they lucked out in the lottery. People didn't say what they mean because they were there the longest. It was not really, and if you're there in the U.S. longest, right, in the first world, you're going to be more intelligent because you got the most amount of nutrition overall in an aggregate average. Seriously, and that's why the whites were the smartest back then. And the blacks, we don't have any. We did have racism. We do, but like at least in America, it was kind of more deceptive. Crime rate was deceptive too. Yeah. It's just we don't talk about this openly anymore. Because we all hated each other back then, and we all hate each other now, and we all hated each other eons ago. It's just much easier not... Because we're cavemen. We're not social creatures, right? Cavemen made sounds, dude. They didn't talk. It's important to talk. I don't care. Just live and let live, and everyone forgive each other because you're not going to get anything. You don't even have the freedom to be a maniacal douchebag unless you learn how to forgive. Right? You don't have the freedom to openly flip people off that you feel inferior to you unless you learn how to forgive people. Right? It's both sides of the same coin. You got to do both. You got to learn how to play the game. So why the whites were the smartest? Because they had the most amount of nutrition. They were exposed. They knew how to make the most amount of foods that were healthy and sanitized. It was a temporary IQ distribution curve, which was skewed. So, and they did grade it on ethnicity. It was just simply easier to get cheaper labor that way. So you're white, right? So I'll give you an example why it's exploitative both ways, right? It all benefited the rich. White is the smartest cohort for a white guy needs to run a business plus be a regular salary worker. African American being the second smartest, and I'll tell you why. Because they were the second race that got imported, right, to the Americas. Right? Because Europeans are this one race. So Africans means, and now the Africans, they fought. They're like, I'm not going to fucking start a business. That's why they got racism for so long. Fuck you, dude. No F word, sorry. But it's like, I don't want to start a business and be a salary worker. I don't want to start a business in my free time. I refuse. That's basically what happened. That's why they had racism. Why you saw these weird pockets of history were like, well, they're not racist, they're racist. Because African Americans are like, I really do not want to start a business and be a family man. How about I not? Now, George Washington, all these Richie were like, I don't know. I think I'm going to be a racist asshat. They didn't say what they mean. They had disclaimer logos all the time. You owe me a lot of salt, you know that. That's why Senator Brooks is over there and he's like, I don't know. I have some reservations about freeing my own people. You're supposed to be a job creator. This is the sad part. Indians were pretty much, like, literally at the bottom at the time. Because this is a couple decades ago, right? That's why the crime rate was low, because they knew what the game was. So the game was, I clean, right? I'm clean. And I can get the benefits. I can get the same pay. And that's a joke. As a CEO, if I don't commit crime. Because the whites are like, if I'm nice to this guy, can you imagine how clean all the public roads are? We all don't want to talk about this. This is The Office. America is just like HR. We are all like HR. We are all HR. If we don't HR, it's fantastic. It's just like as time goes on, as you keep complaining, things just get worse and worse and worse. You just spam more complaints. I remember back in the day, I heard stimulus money used to be worth more. The government used to be a lot larger and do more shit. Yeah, it was Pangea, right? It used to do more shit. Now we just spam, we just complain more and more as the years go by. Things happen, things degrade. Was the tech better? The money was worth more. You could enjoy life more. I don't know about tech. See, society would be a lot better like right now. It would mean more if our currency was intelligence. We don't have that. It's just it's still based on money. That's kind of the problem we have right now. If our currency was intelligence, our life actually would be better. Now, a lot of these lifespan stuff, there's a lot of context. People want to go for a shorter life because they don't want to think about the budget. We're all lying about this, the mortality thing. Because we're like trying to section out, we're trying to axe out certain people to give them protection. I don't think anyone's holding their end of the obligation anymore. Indians are perpetually at the bottom because they just wanted to be on welfare. They didn't want to start. Now did they benefit? Yeah, I'm not going to say they all were. They wanted to all categorize themselves as that. Because the moment I'm serious about this, if you aggregate yourself in a race, I'm telling you, they had, so there were reasons why there's so many disclaimer labels. They just didn't want to put one on the racist thing. They actually got cheaper insurance. So a lot of the Native Americans who were dumber than their counterparts got the same benefits as the smart one. They roasted themselves. They felt good. Right? And so the Native American that was smarter, who went up the caste, right, or whatever, the ranks, right, as like he's a grunt to a demon lord, right? They all benefit from the same insurance. As long as you called yourself his people. You can't say what you mean. Oh no, racism existed, but it only got perpetuated for a reason. You got to enjoy the exact same benefits as an insurance package as the richest amongst you. You ever hear that what's like Uganda meme? That's pretty much what it is. They're also obligated to share their resources. Because they're your little minions. You saw that Bad Guys movie where all those little gerbils get those green eyes and shit? It's the exact same thing. And the richest amongst them would use those as insurance chips to basically explode. Control-Alt-Delete on a certain rich cast. We all play this game. It's just makes you feel good. It's not worth it though. Oh no, it was racism for sure. But the alternative of I need to start a business was never really, or I need to start a business empire and be like a shadow commander-in-chief was not. That's not really something people want to do. I'd rather just get discriminated. You can't, because there's no way. People are like, well, how do you understand the U.S.? Well, there's your answer. That's how you understand the U.S. government. You're all dividing the work stuff, looking at all the paperwork. So the cost, and it's always the rich guy. So because the poor people don't want to do it. Now, there wouldn't be racism if there was a draft system and everyone put in their fair share. I never said it was right. I'm just saying that's reality. Right? It's like, well, I want to be kicked in the shin because I'm lazy. That's not right, but that's reality. People look at the alternative. Well, my alternative is I don't give you food stamps. I'm just telling you. We just don't know. See, you always want to ask what the alternative is. There was never a good choice. It's unspoken. Crime rate was only artificially low because of obligations that were promised to them. And the funny part is, the rich believe that if the infrastructure was the less damaging infrastructure, the more of it they can control for free. Right? So like a lot of the stuff that the other companies established, like, public housing and all this stuff, the other companies that never had any stake get to control it all. That's the promise they gave in return for a low crime rate. So, if any conservative points to a low crime rate for African Americans, just know there was missing context. Of course you commit low crime. You as the rich African American also have to forcefully share all those resources to them too. Of course you commit no crime. What do you think was going to happen? You mean the poor want to pay for that? Of course you make up paperwork for it. No shit. Now look at that low crime rate back when segregation. Well, yeah, but you promised them. There are promissory notes. There were things. Promise to commit no crime, I give you a fruit basket every Wednesday, right? It's the favors, the office. China, right? This is the game of China. You do your ceremonial bow to the rich. The rich don't want to play, by the way. That's why they hated them. There were so many Rockefellers, by the way. The joke was they just threw rocks at each other if you didn't enforce it. Now, today's crime rate is because we don't even want this system anymore. Now, I'm okay with that. We'd be in a much better society if we had a society dominated by intelligence. Then the service economy wouldn't be such a big deal. That's what we were missing. Too bad we're not doing that. We're just too lazy to change. If it's dominated by intelligence, a lot of these billionaires wouldn't even be in power. We wouldn't even care about the manufacturing base leaving. A lot of these smart people would be obligated and forced to start a business and to mature, right? If you think they're too egotistical. I think a lot of intelligent people will just opt out. Be the CEO and the innovator, right? That is pretty much how you get a better society. Now no one wants to do that. Our currency system has to innovate too at the same time. That's what we're missing. That's why nothing seems to work in politics. Because everything's dependent on our currency system. That's why we're seeing a repeat of populism and everything else. Because if you do not update your system, you get the exact same problems in cycles. Nothing changes unless you point it out. You have to. There is no choice. What are you going to do? You're going to this is why, so why do you think we're into grunge and Nirvana and stuff? Because that came right around the time of the monetary system. The monetary system still existed, right? That's why we find it trendy again, because the monetary system controls our preferences and tastes. It's just in cycles again. Do a time series analysis of the monetary system and when these things came out, and look at how long it took, right? Within, each century, right? Look at it, like, what came before grunge? I don't know, rock. Just subtract the difference from when that came out and when grunge came out from, like, that last century. And you can pocket the difference, right? Take the difference and look, well, it came, like, 20 years time span, right? Time lag, or whatever, right? There's a link. There's a disturbing link. Now, you want something new? You update your currency system, right? Innovate your system. Go with intelligence. Go with intelligence. If you don't do that, you're going to get the same exact shit that you see in politics. Next thing you know, we'll go back to Hitler. Unless someone points it out to you. Because no one in humanity wants to point out anything. No one is plain about anything. No one I've actually never seen anyone who's actually genuinely apologized for anything these days. Has anyone done that? Right? Once you innovate you base your currency on intelligence, you have to evolve your personality, right? You gotta. Now, no one's going to change the currency system because people just are okay. So, how do you maintain it? Well, someone has to tell the truth. You have to tell the truth because then nothing starts. You need to change. People need to grow up and accept society for what it is. You're going to get the exact same problems from the 1800s, even with the tech you have. You say, well, what about the sanitation? Yeah, you will. Here's how. People just do dumber things. Just to get social media attention. You notice where the trend is going? Remember the Tide Pod memes? Doesn't that sound reminiscent of like Ebola or something? Or dysentery? It just manifests itself either in the same problem or in a different form. Or the same problem as well. Never mind, same problem. Now the joke is you have to keep innovating it just like as tech innovates. Do you have to innovate it all the time? No, you don't. But you got to innovate it. At least preferably once every century. Or every couple if you can. You've had the currency system for like, what, eons arguably? I think there's some conspiracy theories about this. Too long. Trade and barter has been around too long too. Crypto is not a sustainable system because it's got no social obligation, no social link. Right? The only currency systems that work are ones backed by social obligation. Now, there is a cheat code to innovate monetary system without actually switching to intelligence. And that is by reviewing your social obligations. Because every currency, every medium of exchange, is always backed by the power of your connections and your relationships. So no matter how complex the budget is or how complex a currency system is, just know everything functions on relationships. That gives birth to the complexity we have today. If friendship sucks, that means the government's powerless. Yeah. And as for the U.S., the military-industrial complex, I'm seeing the games too of a corporation dying out. Kind of reminds me of either Amazon or what's it, Future Shop? Future Shop. It's the same thing. It's just people don't want to talk about it. They see it. They don't want to talk about it. They just leave. I'm going to tell you a little secret about life. Or not a secret, but people know but don't want to contemplate. Probably doesn't help anyone. It does, but it doesn't help you with your daily life if you contemplate it too much. Solving problems does not mean people agree with you. Right? Life, making society run well is not about getting people to agree with you. It never was. It's always about driving a conversation forward. Now, if that means how people react is they act like idiots, so be it. I'm serious right now. Life has never been about getting people to agree with you.
It's about getting people to think in a certain way. If you focus on I agree or disagree with you, that is a complete waste of time. Right? And you got to do what you can to get the conversation working. So you got to evolve your obligation. That's easy. Just update your contract every time. Go do that. You don't have to upgrade the monetary system at all. Make some roster calls, do it every couple months, and you'll have something. Probably don't have to look at it for the next 20 years. Get a large government that can decentralize at any moment, right?